know the title of this video is a little bit dramatic, but I'm feeling dramatic. Let me wallow in the drama like every other bloody YouTuber, you know what I'm saying? But I also want to make it known, this video does come from a place of love. Y'all know how long I've been dick riding Kagurabachi. I don't know, I've been doing it for a little minute now. I want to stake my claim as one of the OG YouTubers, so Daffy. I'm telling you, I was kind of here first, that's all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes you gotta close the door to open a window.
Okay, but we've officially arrived at chapter 69 of Kagurabachi. Nice, by the way. So I'm just going to say, at first, I really did not fuck with this chapter. At first, my first impressions of this chapter was somewhat of confusion and hype. I was mixed, very mixed emotional feelings at first. But realistically, I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? This is really weird. This development has sort of come out of nowhere. Iori was literally ready to return to school and return to her life of normalcy after taking a little step back and rereading some of the prior chapters, probably from like chapter 50 upwards. I think I've underestimated the complexity of Samura's character, his actions, and Iori's actions and her character. Now, there's still a few things I'm waiting patiently for Hokuzono to show us within the next chapters, because honestly, I think this is just going to be one of those weekly manga type deals where, well, we've only got a little piece of the pie right now, and later on we'll get the full meal here. So upon my first read and inspections of these chapters, Samura struck me as the type of person who is, by association, he's just guilty of his actions. This was a man who has done horrible things during the war, things that we can only speculate, but I would wager it rhymes with Renaside of a small island known as Shikoku. But this guy, he ended up blinding himself due to his own beliefs. So based on all of this, when it's revealed that Iori is apparently trained in the EI White style, I sat back for a second, I was sort of scratching my head. And to be honest with you, I'm still not sure if I'm fully on board with the decision. Before we get into it, let me just explain why. Let me explain what it was that I found through my reread that changed my mind slightly on this chapter. So our introduction to Iori happened not too long ago. Chapter 61 was where we first meet, and the chapter gives us the rundown on Iori's situation. Basically, everyone within the Kaminabi except for the Masumi believes she is dead. The reality of the situation is Samura has asked Masumi one and one only favor, and that was to fake her death. Now, Ro came to the conclusion that Samura does this to distance himself from people who he cares about. Now, this also does cast doubt on Yoji's death, because obviously that was someone he cared about, and it also, casts out on Chihiro's revival, because somehow Chihiro was struck down by Samura and ended up coming back to life. So obviously Samura doesn't want to kill his daughter, but faking her death is a viable option for him, and it's probably the only option. Thus he arrived at the plan to have a spell made that would make it impossible for other people to recognize Iori as Samura's daughter. The spell would sever the connection between them, but it would also sever their memory also. So basically Iori has no memory of her dad and Samura has no memory of Iori, and it's basically as if they never existed in each other's worlds thanks to the spell. And obviously, if that's the case, you forget a person, they forget you. You kind of just forget every event associated with them, which leads back into the EI White Sword stuff here. So basically, Iori has no memory of her dad, and that's it. But now, from chapter 62 through to the current chapters, we get to know Iori a lot better. I've talked about it extensively about how Hokuzono loves to make parallels within his chapters, parallels between Chihiro, parallels between Iori. They are rife through the pickings. You know, Hokuzono, he just can't go a couple of chapters without doing it. But in chapter 62, it gives us Iori slowly breaking the chains and remembering her dad, but it also goes out of its way to show her disdain for murder and violence, and we see her reacting to Chihiro's fight against Hirohiko in the playhouse. And she also reacts negatively to the same classmate who saw the same thing, saw Chihiro's same thing, the fight in the Kabuki playhouse, and he wanted to emulate that. And she was kind of disgusted by that. Now, this is a running theme throughout the build-up to the reveal in chapter 69. Still nice, by the way. What I did like was the symbolism of the lock and chain literally breaking throughout these chapters. I also do like the metaphorical and literal sense and literal key being brought to her as these memories are finally unlocked. And ironically, it's brought to her by the same dude she showed disdain for by emulating Chihiro, which I think is interesting because Chihiro was like the key. He was supposed to bring the key. It's like the Chihiro, we have a home, brought her the key. It's very interesting, but again, Hokuzono, he just can't go a couple of chapters without giving us parallels out the wazoo here. But back to my point. Hokuzono has gone out of his way to show us Iori, who does not like violence, is uncomfortable around death, and has made her decision to go back to school with a heavy heart. But she's also gone out of his way to show us Samura, who is deeply regretful of his actions, and he doesn't like wanting killing, but he believes what he's doing is the best course of action. Hell, in chapter 65, there is a literal quote from Samura talking about his daughter, saying, "The child has never been tainted by war. She is better off forgetting her father is a killer. This man said this and then made the decision to cut all ties with his daughter. And it's the little points like these that made me come to the realization Samura is a parental hypocrite. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Some people hear the word hypocrite and they think, oh, well, you're a piece of shit. No, you can be a hypocrite and still want the best thing for people. It's a very complex term. And I think Hokuzono is doing a fantastic job at representing this. This man is a deeply complex character and one I've greatly underestimated in my first read through here. And Hokuzono has left subtly little clues all through the chapters as to what was coming with Iori, but Samura has made this decision to have his daughter's death faked and then leave her behind in order for her to have a better life. Now, the more I reread these chapters, the more I come to the conclusion that Samura is a deeply complex hypocrite who only wanted to do right by his daughter, and I honestly can't fault that. I'm not sure if I can fault him for that. A prime example is in chapter 51. Shiba is questioning why Samura blinded himself, and Samura tells Shiba it's because of his beliefs. Worldly passions like anger, desire lead humans to hell. They dull our judgment and our blade. And if this doesn't just perfectly sum up the hypocrisy for Samura, I don't know what will. If it doesn't perfectly sum up Samura's character, I don't know what will. This man whose worldly passions like anger, his daughter was being under the watch of the Kaminabi due to his actions, and his desire to protect her led him to hell on earth and led him to make a judgment that meant he would cast out his daughter in an effort to save her. But in this very same chapter, Shiba mentions how smoking is also a worldly passion, in which Samura mentions how he doesn't like it. And later down the line in this very same chapter, we are shown that this is a complete and utter lie. He lights and smokes a cigarette and the whole thing all in one, and then uses it as a diversion against his enemies. So this led me to the conclusion that Samura has taught his daughter the EI white style, and there's even evidence that sort of supports this. There are 4 name tags shown in chapter 55 underneath the EI white purity style, one belonging to Uraha, another belonging to Samura, and 2 seemingly left faded away. Now, a lot of people in the community have already pointed this out, but based off the most recent chapter, I would be venturing a heavy guess now to say that Samura taught Iori the basics of this sword style in order for her to defend herself should this seal ever break, should she ever find herself in a position where she starts to remember. But again, even the very act of Samura teaching her this it feeds back into the notion that Samura is this imperfect hypocrite of a parent. Everything Samura is doing, he has done because it's coming from a place of wanting to do good, wanting to do right by his daughter. And I think that's a beautiful way of Hokuzono letting us know the morality within the story. It's not just black and white within the story. It's very grey, it's very deep, and it's very complex. But Iori's awakening, that felt somewhat strange to me. Again, as I said earlier, I truly believe within the next 1 or 2 chapters, we will get fleshed out lore as to how this all played out, as to what happened before Samura wiped her memory. There was obviously a strong bond between the two. I mean, the first memory that Iori remembers is her holding in Samura's hand. Even if that was her seeing the house that had been destroyed due to results of Samura's actions, it's still a happy memory in her mind. That was what she first remembered, was her holding Samura's hand. But throughout all these chapters, Iori's been torn between her choices as to what it is that she should actually do. But her arriving at the conclusion to protect the normalcy of life is something I don't think I was truly expecting. And Hokuzono genuinely caught me through a loop for this one. That's why I had to sit back. I was like, damn, my knee-jerk reaction was, I don't fucking like this chapter, actually. This feels like, I don't know, I just didn't fucking like this chapter. But it's a direction that all signs didn't point in the direction of, if that makes sense. In fact, all the signs pointed to her either going back to school or being killed, in my opinion. And I think everyone kind of agreed on that point. I don't think some of the crackpot theorists out there, that they were definitely saying that they thought Iori was going to end up with an enchanted blade. And hey, at this point, anything's fucking possible, because apparently Hokuzono's off the fucking black tar heroin here. He's just cooking fucking crack shit here, and I'm here for it, to be honest with you. So, to be honest with you, TLDR, this development caught me off guard, and like I said at the beginning of the video, this was one of those chapters that at first I really didn't fuck with, but after taking a step back and observing more of the chapters a second time, I've come to have a better grasp of my own interpretation and my own understanding of Samura and Iori, and I think it's a fucking good chapter, to be honest with you. I'm very excited to see what Hokuzono can do with the rest of this little storyline, because again, there is a lot that needs fleshing out here. I'm still not sure I'm happy of Iori's like just all of a sudden personality switch, but again, I will let Hokuzono cook. I do think that's just a case of it's a weekly manga. We haven't got all pieces of the puzzle yet, as is the case in most times with this, and I don't want to just be a reactionary Andy and just immediately throw caution to the wind and start slating the chapter, because that's not really what I want to do. I always want to sit back and see, let's wait a minute, let's let the author cook. But yeah, anyways, that's been everything from me. I'm sorry the video was late. I've been dealing with all sorts of troubles here. But anyway, I'm sorry the video was late. As always, if you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe. And if you like this video, check out my other ones, like this Gojo video. I did that one, that was pretty cool. Or this video on Boichi's new manga, that was pretty cool also. But as always, I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Much fucking love. Big fucking kisses. Peace.